Surely thou didst set them in slippery places. Thou castedst them down into destruction. Psalm 73, verse 18. The sanctuary has done its work. Asaph now sees what he could not see before. The prosperity he envied is not solid ground. It consists of ice. God himself places the wicked on slippery terrain, and his hand brings them down into destruction. This is not an accident. God is the active agent in both the placement and the fall. The word surely opens the verse with certainty. Asaph is no longer guessing or straining. The wicked stand where God put them, on ground that cannot hold weight, and their elevation is itself the setup for their ruin. What Asaph mistook for God's favor toward the wicked was God's sovereign arrangement for their destruction. Their so-called success is a precarious situation. How are they brought into desolation, as in a moment they are utterly consumed with terrors? Psalm 73, verse 19. Speed is the point. The fall of the wicked is not gradual. It does not allow time for change or escape. One moment they stand in full prosperity, their influence intact, their bodies healthy, and their tables full. The next moment, they possessed nothing but desolation. The word utterly leaves no room for rest. Their terrors do not just visit them, they consume them altogether. This verse answers one of the most common objections to divine justice. People watch the wicked prosper for decades and conclude God has either forgotten or has approved their behavior. Asaph watched the same thing and also drew the same wrong conclusion. But the sanctuary corrected him. The length of the wicked's prosperity is not evidence of God's indifference. It is the silence before a sudden verdict. As a dream when one awaketh, so, O Lord, when thou awakest, thou shalt despise their image. Psalm 73, verse 20. Asaph reaches for the image of a dream. A dream can feel real only while the sleeper remains asleep. The prosperity of the wicked has that same quality, vivid and substantial while it lasts. But when the dreamer wakes, the dream dissolves, and nothing remains of it. God's awakening, his decisive intervention in judgment, exposes the wicked's prosperity as having no more substance than a dream at sunrise. The word despise is sharp. God does not ignore the wicked's image. He holds it in contempt. Their entire constructed identity, built on wealth, influence, and unchecked pride, receives God's contempt at judgment. What the world admires, God dismisses. Thus, my heart was grieved, and I was pricked in my reins. Psalm 73, verse 21. Asaph turns the lens on himself. Having described what the sanctuary showed him about the wicked, he now confesses what his envy revealed about himself. His heart was grieved, meaning soured by resentment. The reins, referring to the deepest seat of emotion and conscience, were pricked, like they had been pierced with a sharp instrument. Asaph's envy was not a minor inconvenience. It cut deep into his inner life and produced bitterness that distorted everything he saw. So foolish was I, and ignorant. I was as a beast before thee. Psalm 73, verse 22. Asaph does not soften his self-assessment. He calls himself foolish and ignorant, two words that together describe someone who lacks both wisdom and understanding. Then he goes further. Before God, he was like a beast, not just mistaken, nor confused, but animal-like in his reasoning, reacting to visible circumstances without the capacity to perceive what God was doing. The phrase "before thee" is significant. Asaph was in God's presence. The entire time, he was envying the wicked, stumbling in his faith and grinding through his painful reasoning. God saw every moment,